This is the Lit Chicks podcast. I'm author Shannon Reber, and we are starting up this baby. So, guys, introduce yourselves, and let's get this thing started.
I am Susan Landrigan, and I started writing when I lived in Florida, and my grandchildren were small, and they lived here in New York, and I just wanted something special for them, so I started making children's books. And then I've moved on from there, working on some memoirs now, and Mary Ellen?
And I am Mary Ellen Humphrey. I am have been writing for many years. Decades now. That sounds awful, doesn't it? But my writing is more for personal enrichment and fun. I like to write things that I want to read. So I have a whole bookcase, a whole bookshelf full of my books that I like to go and read myself, which is really interesting. And so we're here. We're going to do the Lit Chicks podcast. We're hoping to do it once a week and bring you fun things, fun news, fun reviews, fun stories about our writing adventures. Mm-hmm. And so, Shannon, I think you should tell the story of your genres bookstore, because that's really interesting.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm an author. I've been writing for a while, and I've got like 80-ish titles on Amazon, and I've been having a really hard time selling my books. And so I was complaining about this to a friend, and she said, I was thinking about this, and I think you should open a pop-up bookshop and have all local authors. It's like, oh, that's an interesting idea. And so then I was looking for space, I was looking for people who wanted to be involved, and I got a lot of positive feedback. Well, I couldn't find a place, and so I put up a post on Facebook about how I was looking for something, and Stephanie from the YWCA contacted me and said, we have this room we never use, and I think it would be perfect for you. I went, okay. So then we're looking for more books, and a friend suggested that we also do used books, and so I put out a request for used books, and I got this huge donation, like probably 20 boxes. It was mostly sci-fi and fantasy, like from the 60s. It was a hilariously gigantic donation. Then we got like other random things, and we just got this huge outpouring of donations of books and things, and authors were so excited. And the Y was pretty happy to have us because it was a room that was never used. And it turns out my bookshop, which has now grown, they asked us to stay, so instead of being a pop-up shop, we're an actual shop. My bookshop is in the original library in Westfield. So I'm carrying on Hannah Patterson's legacy.
We should mention that we are in Westfield, New York, because our friends out there watching us may be from all over the world.
Every time you hear New York, people think it's New York City.
No.
So yes. Yeah, we're not. We're about as far from New York City as it's possible to get.
In every sense of the word, really. But Westfield is a wonderful village. It's near Lake Erie is kind of on the border here, and I just recently retired here because I tried out a couple of places, and it just spoke to me. We need to be here. Mm-hmm. So many people that share excitement and enthusiasm about arts and writing, and we are actually in the Arts Center in Westfield, the Lakeshore Center for the Arts, that started, I think, in 2014. So they've really done a lot of amazing things here with the theater, with artwork. There's right now currently an art exhibit here, and we're using their studio. They're allowing us to tape this there. So a huge valuable asset for the town of Westfield. So just so you know where we are physically located and sitting here today. And your store is in Westfield. What is the address in case people want to stop by?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. It's on
I don't know. It's at the YWCA in Westfield, New York.
Yeah.
I never know my address.
Oh, okay.
I have to look it up every single time.
I think this is 49 Portage or something like that.
I don't
so
even know.
It's near there. Just look for it.
We're just down from the library. We're
Yeah.
at the YWCA.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I think it's really important to emphasize that you started with the idea of local authors having an outlet for their books.
Exactly.
And I'm not sure how many authors you have now who are local authors.
Around 30.
Around 30. So
Yeah.
some of my books are there.
Yes.
Susan's
Some
books are
mine.
there.
Books,
Mhm.
yes.
And-
And mine.
and a number of others, which is a really nice thing for us. So I want to just say that I started writing back in the 90s. I started writing books in the 90s. And back then, it was a huge job to produce a book. My first book was done through Biddle Publishing, which was out of Portland, Maine. And it was an author co-op, which was an interesting device for publishing, where you had to jury your book, you had to make it to certain standards, you used the ISBN of Biddle Publishing and so forth. And there were about 30 authors in this co-op, and we would promote our books together. So it was like a group promotional effort. And we did a lot of different things. And back then, Barnes & Noble would host us, and other bookstores that today it's more difficult for local authors and especially independent publishers to get into some of these places. So we're not here just to talk about selling our books, though. We're here to talk about the pleasure of writing and why we write and what we write.
Sometimes the torture of writing.
And the torture.
I'm at the torture stage right now.
You are, oh dear. Well, that's not good. We want you to be happy.
Sometimes it's hard to get your motivation.
Yes.
It really is.
Oh.
It really is. When I don't, you can tell me what you do, but when I get to a writer's block and I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, nothing's coming, and my cat's on my lap and I don't want to move, and my tea's cold, and I'm like, oh, there's a couple of things that I can do that will work for me. And one of them is to put on 50s and 60s pop music. Really,
Oh, that's fun.
really,
Oh.
the Beatles, the
Mhm.
Beach Boys, whatever.
Beatles.
These really pop sounding music, and I start to feel energy, right? And what I do is I tell my fingers, because I touch type, just type anything. And I'm typing to the music, bloop, 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 bloop. And pretty soon I'm typing words, and my muse is coming back. I'm starting to get, I'm teasing my brain into working.
Mhm.
And
Okay.
it's really, try it before you knock it, because
Try it
really
before
is,
you buy it.
It really is a tool that I have used from time to time, quite often actually. So if you go by my house and look in the window, and I'm, which I know in a small village people do kind of look in your windows.
They can't look in mine, so I mean, I have no problems at all.
So what's your views for the muse?
Well, a lot of TikTok, a lot of coffee, and sometimes I just put it away and listen to a book. And when I listen to a book, it just sort of takes me away from my concern about what's wrong. And that, for me, that's what writing is. Writing and reading are both escapes from reality. So if I totally push it aside, it comes to me itself. And I'm a pantser, so
Yeah.
I don't have a huge outline and plot yet. So as soon as I let go, it comes to me. So it tells me where the story is going to go and who's going to die, because that's very important for me. I'm a little bit of a psychopath with my books.
Now, Shannon,
Yeah.
you like audiobooks,
Uh-huh.
and you produce audiobooks.
I do. I have, I think, 46 titles now.
And why do you love audiobooks?
Because okay, so I'm legally blind. That I have the only way I can read something is if it's either that far from my face or listening to it. And having things that far from your face, it gives you a headache. It's this terrible, awful thing. And so my mom used to read to me when I was a kid. She would basically take an hour or two out of her day and read to me, and it was my favorite thing. And then we found audiobooks, and I've been listening to them since I was a child, and it was a bucket list thing for me. If I was able to do audiobooks, I felt like I could die happy. And I can now die happy because I got 46 titles.
Well, you get a lot more, have you? So don't talk about dying. That's my genre.
Hey.
So Susan, your inspiration.
Yeah.
My inspiration for writing started with my grandchildren.
Right.
And then I've recently started writing some memoirs, and I find the more that I write, the more I learn about myself.
Yes.
It's really strange,
Yeah,
but I'm
exactly.
really enjoying it. And I'm at a point where I'm not sure how to proceed, and I have to think about that.
Okay. Well, you're in the right place.
Yeah.
I want to just talk a little bit about pantsers and plotters, because some of the people who are listening may wonder what the heck we're talking about, right? And I'm kind of a mix of both, but mostly a pantser.
Yeah.
And a pantser is you write from the seat of your pants. You sit. You don't have a plot. You don't have an outline. You go, oh, I want to write this story, and it's up here.
And then the story
putting it
tells you
down.
where it's going to go. The characters take control.
I
That's
did-
the way it works for me.
I discovered this in 2014, I think, because I do NaNoWriMo, which is another thing we can talk about, but every year I write a new book, first draft in November. And I try different things. It's a wonderful writing exercise. You don't always have a book you're going to publish, but you spend 30 days for 50,000 words, you're going to write something. And I had read Stephen King's book on writing, and he had a piece in there that said, take a setting you know, take characters you know, and let them tell the story. And I thought, I'm going to do that for a Nano project. And I had this wonderful little story that I knew I wanted to write, which I did. It was the Politics and Poltergeist book.
Oh.
And so I knew that. I knew the setting. I knew the crazy world of politics. I knew the crazy people in politics. And I knew it had to have a murder, and I knew it had to have some voodoo stuff like, Twilight Zone. And so I had all of this mixture going on, and I sat down and did that. And I like to tell the story. I got to the end. It's like 2 days from the end of November. And I've got 49,000 words, and I've got this mystery, and who killed the person, who's the villain?
You didn't know at the end.
And
That's awesome.
Because my characters were writing this, I was like, I wonder who it is. And I got up and I finished it the last day, and I had the right person that was the villain, and it fit perfectly. And I thought,
I love that.
wow,
It just worked
wow,
out.
it's a good thing.
Yep.
I would have been like, oh gosh, I have to rewrite the whole book. But so that's kind of the pantser versus the plotter, or the outliner.
Yes.
I had the opportunity to go to the Maui Writers Retreat back in 1999. And there were a couple of things I took away, and one was Elizabeth George, who writes mysteries, and she's a British writer. And she said, I plot the first half of the book, and I write the first half of the book, and then, I plot the second half. And I thought, there's no way I could do that, because if I don't know how it ends, how do I write this, first half? But that would be a plotter's version
Right.
of writing, as opposed to the Stephen King version, which was let the characters tell the story.
Now hold on a second. We were talking about your writing, and all three of us have. There was a group of 20-some authors, I think, who did a short story collection that was spooky type stories. And we did this, and Susan wrote 2 stories about your own experiences.
I did,
with
2
ghostly
ghost
things.
stories.
Yeah.
The only 2 I've had in my life. So,
That you remember.
but I like writing what I know.
Right. So are you a plotter? Or do you just remember and then write down?
I guess that would make me a plotter, wouldn't it?
It would, yeah.
Because
You seem like a plotter to me.
I have to have everything just so. That's how I am.
It varies for me depending on the project I'm working on. I think if it's nonfiction, then I kind of do have an outline, because it has to be true, right? But if it's fiction, it's creativity going wild. Who cares, And that's kind of the fun of it.
That was something that I found very therapeutic with my Madison Meyer mystery series. It's paranormal mysteries, and I took an experience that I had in my teen years, and I fictionalized it, fantasy fictionalized it, and it was the most amazing thing because I knew what had happened, but I turned it into a fantasy story, and it really helped me to look at that situation from a different point of view, and it made me feel less victimized, and I absolutely love that about writing fantasy, especially
Yeah.
because it showed me the truth, and it was something that I needed to see, and I wouldn't have gotten that if I had written it like the way you do, because I would still be blaming myself if I wrote that way, because it would be looking at it through my eyes.
That's
And
really
so, yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
It is really interesting. And I think a lot of books do that for people.
I think
They're
you're right.
therapeutic, and
Yeah.
that you get to see a fictionalized version of something maybe you've experienced, an emotion or an event or something. And by seeing that objectively, sort of 3,000-foot view of it,
All right.
you get a different perspective.
Exactly.
It heals you.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But that was the same for you with Politics and Poltergeist, wasn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's certainly with my mountain friend.
Oh, right.
Which is my memoir of hiking the mountain, which we'll talk about another time. But yeah, I think a lot of writing can start from journaling and from trying to remember your life and sort out things that happen. And for some of us, that turns into fiction. Very
Fantasy.
interesting fiction. People say, "Where do you get your stories?" Oh, it just happens.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I have this story that came. It's the only one that this has ever happened with. But I had this dream. It was basically it was a girl kneeling at the top of a cliff with someone standing behind her with a sword, and she was about to die. And this was the dream. And I woke up. I was like, oh, I have to write this. And so I came up with this whole I came up with this story just because of that dream.
Interesting.
And it was all just wrapped around that one image. And it did actually, once I published the book, that scene is in there, just kind of different than the dream was. So it was really amazing that how a dream can actually affect
Oh, absolutely.
what you write.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's the only time that's ever happened for me.
I think that your mind is constantly churning. You know, like you see that thing that goes around on the computer? That's going around in my head. And there's always...
It's buffering. It's buffering.
Yeah, it's buffering. There's this synthesizing, a word I have a hard time saying.
Oh, that's a good one.
But it's taking pieces that you know and pieces you think about, and it's processing. And a lot of times, if you're writing a book and you're stuck, you got to let that work for a while.
Right.
And then your brain will come up with
Mhm.
the answers or the story that you need to write.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. It really is exercising your brain muscle. You have one.
Exactly.
I think we have them.
Well, I think we should think about wrapping.
Yes, we should.
Oh.
But didn't you want to do something special?
The word of the day?
Yes.
Okay, let's do the word of the day. The word of the day is Herkle-Durkle.
Herkle-Durkle. Now I want
What's
to
the
say,
definition?
You can define it, but I want to say what I want to say. Go ahead.
Okay, Herkle-Durkle is when you stay in bed after you're awake and you're not ready to get up yet.
You just kind of lazy there.
Yeah, you lays in bed.
Lazy.
That's my favorite thing to do.
And
I love
on a
that.
rainy day like today, I really wanted to do that. I just.
But you got to use it in the sentence. You really wanted to?
I wanted to Herkle-Durkle. Herkle-Durkle.
There we go.
I wanted to Herkle-Durkle with my 4 cats all snuggled around me. And I did not want to get up, but I had to because I had repairmen coming.
Yeah. They do sort of ruin things, don't
Yeah.
they?
Well, I hope everyone has a good Herkle-Durkle before the day's over. Or the night, whichever.
Whatever.
And we do want to welcome feedback.
Yes, we do welcome you to send us your questions since you want to know how we write. And tell us what you think, and we'll share more about our writing, and we'll do more reviews of other people's works. And we're just going to be the 3 lit chicks having a lot of fun.
Heck yeah.
Having fun.
Yeah.